Okay, so this is what we're going to do for the next 45 minutes or so. We're going to ask you to think about what you've been doing in the last year, or even before that, that is unique, interesting, or highly successful with your students in your online classes, or even in your face-to-face classes using technology. And we're going to ask you to share those things at the mic with the rest of the group, and we're recording this, so we will have captured what you're offering. And we're going to share information. Now, there are going to be two things you can do. You can come up to the mic and share something that you're doing that you think others would really appreciate or be able to use. Or you're going to be able to ask questions about the stuff that you've been hearing for the last day and a half. Questions about DE policy, questions about teaching online, whatever you'd like. And so we're going to give you time to come to the mic and say your piece and what you think. That's what the session's going to be about. But right before we do that, I have to say just a little bit about the people who brought you the conference. And so I would like to take a minute to thank the At One staff, Micah and Anna and Cass, and the CCC Confer staff, and I'm not going to name them all probably, but Heather and Michelle and Blaine, I've probably forgotten someone, the 3C Media staff, which is a large staff there, back there, Chris and Connie and friends, and Phil for bringing us all the video work that they do, and the food folks that have brought you really good food, really tasty stuff. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting. Oh, the whole committee that put this together, that started working regardless of how we felt about it, about a week or two after the last conference ended. And we've been working all year, and we meet once a month for a while, then we start meeting every other week, then we start meeting every week, and we build up into a panicked frenzy, and then we end up here with boxes and bags and all kinds of stuff, and we go. And so I would like to thank everyone who has put their energies into this conference. We'll thank Tiffany at the end, but right now, just a big hand for everybody who's put this conference together. So where is Tiffany anyway? Can someone grab her and bring her in, because we can't start till she gets up here? Okay. While that's happening, I want to call some folks up to the stage. So I'd like to say, come on down and take a seat up here to John Mikovich, who is Earth Sciences instructor online at College of the Canyons. To James G.G. Where's James? Come on down, James. There he goes. Who's the person responsible, the administrator responsible for distance ed at College of the Canyons as well. Sherry Lee Kushida. Come on down, Sherry. Where are you? Come on, Sherry Lee. She's from Santa Ana College, and she teaches Introduction to Computing. And Catherine Hillman. Where's Catherine? Catherine here? Catherine, there she is, okay. Catherine is Business and CIS instructor formerly. She's now instructional design. She's at CSU. She also teaches at Cuesta, and she teaches classes for the At One certification program. Many of you have probably taken IOTL from her and not known this is what she really looks like. Okay, and you are who you really look like too, which is always a surprise. And going, wow, yeah, I do know you now. And Barry Russell, who is our Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs from the Chancellor's Office. Come on down. I drafted these people this morning. And I had a brainstorm. I'm sorry, you have to live with it. And where is Tiffany? Did she come in? Is she here? Tiffany, come over here. Sweet here. So thank you, Tiffany, for... I'm I'm sure there have been years shaved off her life from doing this. And there's no gray hair that I see, so you're pretty good there. But thank you so much for all that you've done for the last 2 years with this. We want to keep her doing this, so we're going to treat her really nice.
Thank you. It's so nice.
Okay, I'm going to kind of kick this off a little bit with just a little intro. I can't help myself. Sorry. This is our MOOC, and I'm not going to go through it all. We have a presentation after lunch I'm advertising, but this is it. And we found out yesterday that our first student has taken his certificate and reassessed and assessed from Basic Skills English into English 101 after taking the class, which is that's what we wanted. And we'll talk more about that later, but I want to show you a little video piece that's in here. Well, I don't want to do that because I think the students can do that better than I can. And so I'd like to ask them, what do you think?
Great.
So what we're asking them
Time
is,
management.
you'll see.
Time management is probably the biggest thing because when you're not actually going into class and are forced to attend class and you know exactly when your tests are going to be because you're there every day, you forget about it. So keeping a calendar, whether it's on the wall or a planner, and knowing when your assignments are due and what's due, and then being able to give yourself the time accordingly so you can get all of your assignments done.
First time I took an online class, I actually did it in the library. I needed to do it in an environment where it's not too relaxing and comfortable, a little more engaging, where there are other students around to motivate me and to make sure that I am diligent with my coursework.
Check your email constantly, a week before, sometimes a semester before, just because there are instructors that will get a hold of you the semester prior, just to give you a heads up on the literature that you might need or some of the services. And then once you start the class, constantly check your email because there's always stuff that's being offered from extra credit.
To stay on top of the assignments, do not fall behind, and definitely keep in contact with your instructor. They are your best resource.
More time to do it, but you forget sometimes when you're online that it's online and you have to get it done. There's not a teacher there to be like, oh, do you have your homework?
My advice for an online student, well, what I can say is don't wait for the last minute to turn in all your work.
It requires more responsibility coming from the students, so scheduler and discipline.
Or if you're just feeling a little bit lost with the material, send them an email. It's right there and it's so easy to do.
Make a schedule for yourself and stick to it. You're not going to want to actually do the work since no one's telling you to do it, so you have to tell yourself. And if you can actually make a time that you set for yourself to do that work every single week, it's going to help a lot.
It's very important to have basic computer skills because your assignments will be online. You will be doing things like discussion boards, turning in assignments online. You will be using maybe possibly things like turnitin.com where you turn in papers through a website. So having basic knowledge of how to work a computer is always a good thing when you're taking an online course.
No,
Wow, that was great to get some advice from current students. Now, what does this have to do with our?
Okay, that's what we're just going to show. I'm just going to show you that bit. So one of the things to think about, and you can go back to your own slide, thank you. One of the things to think about as we're starting to talk about this is how do we prepare our students? Those are things that we know we need to do, and Barry was talking about that yesterday with bringing up the success rates, and I think that's one of those things. What are the other things that we do or that we can do to make our students successful? What about what you need and questions that you have about what you should be doing? I was just talking to someone who said, what do I do as a teacher who wants to be more marketable? Okay. My answer to him was to learn how to do video and do it well, and then also know how to integrate social media into your classes all over the place. That was my answer. So what questions do you have? Why don't you step up to the mic, or if you have something you want to offer that you're doing, come on up, and don't be shy, because otherwise we won't have a session.
Hello. My name is Autumn Bell. I'm from Fresno City College. And our challenge and my question right now is about certifying or qualifying our faculty to teach online so that we know they know the regulations and they know how to do effective instructional design, et cetera. It's very hard to do a one-size-fits-all. You have to get the @ONE certification, which is what we'd like to tell them. But the pushback from faculty is, well, I've been teaching online 10 years, or I already know how to use Blackboard, and I don't want to have to do that out of my own pocket on my own time. So we'd like something, some of us think it should be very prescriptive. Yes, you have to do a certificate. Others want to be more flexible about how we qualify. So I wondered what other campuses are doing and what advice you have.
Okay, any of you can answer, just go for it.
I can take that a little bit. I know through @ONE we are doing some Trainers Bureau sessions where we are actually tailoring things for specific colleges and universities. I also know with the @ONE classes, a lot of times what I hear from the instructors who take those courses is that they were very surprised at what they learned. The course that I teach, which is the Introduction to Online Teaching and Learning, the first series or the first course in the series, we actually don't do a lot with specific learning management systems. So they can come in knowing Blackboard, Moodle, Sakai, whatever, etudes, whatever system that they're working on, and they'll learn things that may be a bit of a refresher for them, or maybe something completely new that they can incorporate into their courses that's going to be exciting and different. And I don't get a lot of complaints that they're learning things that they already knew. So maybe it's a perception issue of what it is that we're actually doing at @ONE. I know there's a number of different types of things that they can do at @ONE. It's really nice because that does lead into the certification. But maybe it's a marketing issue on our part to try and let people know that we have some really surprising, innovative, and fun things for them to do that's not just the same old, same old.
Well, there's other things we've been talking about too. We've been cut down. We used to have more money and we did a lot more stuff. But when we started the certification, the idea was a menu that a college could choose the things they needed for their own certification. But people didn't want that. They wanted us to tell them. It was like, no, we want to know, we don't know. And so maybe we can kind of go back to that now because we are better educated about the whole thing and we are more aware, and we can go back to that and reiterate that you could choose what you want for your own college's certification. And if, as the money's coming back a little bit at a time, and maybe bigger amounts, I don't know, Barry can talk about that, but as the money's coming back a little bit, we could also do more advanced things, which I think we're ready for now, is the next level, as soon as we really figure out what the next level is.
I can speak a little bit about this and relate to what you're saying. At Santa Ana College, we felt similarly, where we wanted our new online instructors new to online, as well as existing distance ed faculty to really hone their skills and make sure that they're current on technologies to use, but how to incent them to want to take the @ONE classes. And some of the feedback that we got was that if you're requiring this, you're also making us pay for this ourselves. Is that what you're requiring? You're requiring that I pay for this to be able to teach online. I should be able to teach online without having to pay. So what we did, which was a lot of work, and we're piloting just this summer, so we're testing this out, is we created our own modules, similar to the @ONE and patterned after the @ONE. And it's working out pretty well. I think that one of the things we need to work on is all the modules are back to back. And as somebody just said earlier, we don't have that much time and everybody's kind of burnt out right now. So I can see that because I'm leading the modules and the faculty. Everybody has vacations too, so we're trying to make it flexible if you leave for a few days and so forth. But it is really hard. So I think, and we also, by the way, followed MSJC in how we had it adopted through Academic Senate. Through our regular effective contact at the bottom, we also included that it's a requirement to complete their certificate, either through the @ONE or through our own offering. So that's how we're handling this, and we're piloting it right now. So we'll see. We'll have to give faculty a certain amount of time to complete this. I'm kind of thinking instead of back-to-back, that they can take a module here and there through the semesters and maybe give faculty a couple years, maybe, a few semesters to complete the certificate. So that's how we're trying to attack that problem at Santa Ana.
I would add that there are a couple of different arguments that have been effective at College of the Canyons. On the one hand, certainly we have a certification required, and it's been approved by our academic senate. And the argument that I think was effective with our academic senate was that this is the quality control, which is the purview of the faculty. The faculty want the best instruction to take place. They want the best for our students. To institute a certification policy is really the opportunity for the faculty to safeguard the quality of instruction before those evil administrators come and put people in charge of the online classes who don't know what they're doing. And of course, the flip side with the evil administrators, of whom I'm one, is that we want the best instruction in the classes to increase our retention rates, our success rates, et cetera, and our metrics, especially as we're moving towards outcomes-based funding and so on and so forth. So a lot of the argumentation, I think, depends on who the audience is, but there are a lot of different ways to slice and dice that argument.
Did you want to comment on that? Go ahead.
I'm Francine Vasil-Menalakis from El Camino College, and we're actually have that exact thing in front of us right now. My division, I'm part of professional development, so I do the technology training. We are working together with Distance Ed for teaching online. We've looked towards the future first. So we've taken the regular effective contact and the student authentication, passed that through the guidelines, went through academic senate, got that accepted, and we decided to redesign our teaching online certificate. So at our school, you have the course management certificate and you need the teaching online certificate. And in the past, it was just a 3-week course, 4-week course. And we decided, let's update ourselves and everyone else first, and all those coming new into online teaching, so that they can have a certification program that reflects the current right now. So we're redesigning a class, and we've taken some classes with Distance Ed, and we're looking at an 8-week online course. So we feel that every online teacher first should be an online student. And a lot of online teachers have never taken an online class, which is really amazing, because once you go in, you see the deadlines. Okay, there's a Friday night deadline. I might have to miss that party, and I might have to do this work or take the consequences. And it really is a good learning experience. And I have many faculty, because I teach faculty all the time, that, well, I've never taken an online course, but I know what to do. Well, you don't know until you really feel it. So we're actually doing that. We're going to have an assessment, a technology assessment, to see where are they technologically, because when you look at it, many people say, well, my computer's 10 years old. You're teaching online. You need to have better equipment. So a lot of this, we're looking at where we're going to hopefully see in the beginning where they are at the end. And we thank you for, bringing a lot of this. @ONE has a phenomenal program. I'm actually in that myself right now, and I just love all of the different courses that they're making us go through. It really is very, very helpful. And the other thing we're also doing is you need to teach with the course management system. You also need to give yourself a full semester to develop your class. Yeah, you can't just say, I'm going to finish this class and I'm going to teach next semester. I'm teaching in spring, so I need to take this right away. Right, exactly. We found also the deans need to help us out with this. They can't just go and say, okay, you're going to teach next semester, and you've never had that. So we're actually training our deans at our school as well. So.
Thank you. One of the things I've heard in the last couple of days from a lot of you is the deans are putting people in classes without training. And that was kind of a surprise to me, only because it's not a surprise, I guess, because it was happening at our college until we all decided as a group we weren't going to do that. So, that's an important piece, to find someone in your administration who really understands this and get them to bring other people on board.
You know what, Pat?
Yeah.
Could I add one more thought to this? That as we were developing our own online teaching program within our college, it occurred to us, because everything was named, like we have our first one is new technologies for online teaching. And then we have the intro to online teaching, and then assessments for online teaching, engaging techniques for online teaching. And then it occurred to us, our face-to-face instructors are also very much interested in gaining the new technology skills. They could also use this in their classroom. They should also want to be engaging in the classroom and use assessments, and maybe they're flipping the classroom, and they need to use these assessment skills. So our thought in planning out our certification was really for them to, for us to really run through our DE instructors first, and then really open it up, and we'll probably drop the for online teaching portion of it, because really it's all faculty that really should want to improve those areas. So that was just one more thought.
Yeah, I'm going to add to that real quick too. I not only teach online, teaching earth sciences, but also do the faculty training at our college for online teachers. And that's a running tone that's really been increasing is that not only the concept of hybrid in terms of a hybrid class, but the real hybridization of infusion of technology at all levels in teaching, face-to-face, online, hybrid classes, you name it. And so that's been a running thread, is really trying to pull the concept of the online course out of the training and more or less just focus on the practice and focus on good practices of using technology both in a face-to-face environment and online, and that's been really beneficial.
Before we get off this topic and probably should move on to other ones, I really would like to hear from Barry about what the TTAC retreat was talking about when they were talking about maybe funding, and do we pay people to do it, or do they do it for free, or what you remember about those conversations, if you do.
Well, I think it's just reiterating what everybody is saying here, is that professional development, the training and getting familiar with everything is extremely important to us moving forward. So whatever we do with this future of distance learning, it has to have a very strong professional development component to it.
And hopefully paid for in a reasonable way, instead of out of your pocket. So, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Martha Mills. I'm Dean of Distributed Ed and Media Services at Yuba College, but in my other duties as assigned, I'm also Dean over the Library Resource Center for the last 3 years. And I wanted to give just another shout out for the role of the librarian and the library media specialists. Yeah. And for the graduate schools like San Jose that are producing the type of skill sets that we need to integrate into the libraries and into the schools in order to become colleges of the 21st century, in our case, a library of the 21st century. We have had a Measure J bond passed. 3 years ago began the planning. One of many facilities on our campus was to renovate our 50-year-old Learning Resource Center. And so we formed a user group, which in the beginning was the College Success Center, the Language Writing Development Lab, the Language Arts Center department, media services, my staff, and the library staff, and some of the mass comm, because that's in there too. And when we first started meeting, they were mostly there as individuals wanting to make sure they got their piece of the pie. But 2.5, 3 years later, as we get ready to move into the renovated facility and open for business in January of 2014, I think we are more collaborative and more connecting the dots, and as one of our speakers, that aggregatedness, that synergy being developed. And as part of that process, we have tried to reconceptualize in our students and our faculty's minds what the library's function is in the 21st century. It is not a storehouse for dead trees. Yes, we do store some dead tree product, but vast majority of what it should be and can be is a touchdown place where faculty and students can go to get assistance in generating knowledge, accessing knowledge, and making meaning out of knowledge via technology and other resources. That's the vision, at least I and my incredibly talented librarian Elena Heilman and I share, and I think is happening and growing amongst our collaboration of users now. So I would hope that in any initiative with the state funding, that we reach out to the librarian organizations and to the librarians because they are many walk on water, and to the library programs that train the librarians as well as the library media specialists. They are an untapped resource. And one last thing for those of you who are looking for some free labor, we have been using interns from the San Jose State Library Media Master's Program, Library Science Master's Program, because they all have to do at least a one-semester internship, and many of them do it online. And we've been able to bring in a lot of their contemporary knowledge into our environment. Not near enough, but it has really helped with shifting some of that culture. We have a long way to go, but I'm excited about that.
Cool. Thank you. How many of you are with OCLC in your library, or know that you are? Anybody? And do the 24/7 library reference desk? Any of you do that? Good, there's a hand over there. Maybe you could, in a minute, or when you get a chance, or if you want to, come down and speak to that a little bit. If not, I can do it in a bit, but that's something to think about too. It is available if your librarians want to put some time into that. Okay, go ahead.
My name is Katie Datko, and I'm from Pasadena City College. And first of all, I would like to say thank you. I haven't met you face to face yet, Pat, but you are one of my mentors for regular effective contact, and it's been really wonderful to meet James and Catherine, who have really influenced me. I'm the instructional designer at PCC, and to just sort of go back to some of the training things, because we have the same issues as everybody does, and I just wanted to share with you some of the things that we've been doing, and we're going through growing pains right now, lots of them. But the first thing is we were very lucky to have a board-approved policy by a very active DE committee on campus that just did an amazing job and required that all new online faculty have to take 4 at-one courses at minimum. So that has been awesome. So we have had, I think, about 185 faculty take at-one courses. And of those, probably close to, 70 to 100 maybe have completed all 4 courses, and we have quite a few who have done the full certificates. So we're very, very proud of our faculty right now. And to that end, though, one of the issues we've had is, well, let me just come back for a second. We also make certain that the faculty do not pay out of pocket for that. So we support faculty in that. We give them a scholarship code to go in and to take that. So we take on that as part of our budget. So I think, again, that's also some way that we're supporting not only our full-time faculty, but also our adjunct faculty, which I think is very, very critical because they're the ones teaching the majority of these courses. The second thing that we're doing is we're offering a separate training pathway that's in-house, similar to what you're doing at Santa Ana. We had to do it very quick last semester, and that was a 6-week training, and we found that it wasn't as in-depth. The faculty weren't learning how to interact online with their students as much, although they did get a lot out of it and were very successful in building their courses. So right now we're exploring a semester-long process, and so what we've done is open that up to faculty as an option for them, and some are doing it optionally, and some of them have been it's been suggested that they need to do it, et cetera, or some of them want to teach online in a couple of semesters and they know that they have to do it, and this is a way to do it in a much more timely manner for them, I guess is the best word to say. And actually what we're finding is of those faculty, quite a few of them have completed the full at-one practicum already, and they're doing this in addition. So we have a lot of faculty who are doing extensive training just to keep up with it and just to try. So we have a whole group of motivated faculty who have already are going above and beyond what they're doing. So that's been really, really helpful. The growing pains come when we sort of integrate the existing faculty into the mix. We have them all together in the course, so everybody is learning together and sharing from each other. So we'll see how that goes, because this is the pilot of the first semester, so you may hear me next year talking about that. But anyway, I just wanted to add that there are many different models you can have for training. We actually do encourage our adjuncts to go the @1 route because that gives them more marketable skills, for example, and we think that that's also important. It's an external certificate. But we find that they're also popping into our training voluntarily, so we're really excited about that prospect. And I wanted to share that with you all.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to add, we have a academy training at our college we've had since 2000, I think most of you know about, or some of you know about. And we invite people to come to that, and it's free. And so if you're interested, you can email me, and you can send a couple people from your college, and we're doing it August 6th, 7th, and 8th. And it's 3 full days, and you can take a whole lot of different things, but that's really been encouraging, and we do the IOTL there for our faculty and then get them going from there on. But that academy program, you have to have your professional development be something that people can count on. It has to be consistent, and it has to keep going. And I think there are some folks from Victor Valley College here who are adopting that model, and we've been working with them. If they want to talk about it at some point today, too, that might be a good thing. And I think they did a presentation on it, or are going to. Not sure about that, but go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Sandra Camarena, and I'm an instructor from Sacramento City College. I have a question for everyone, I guess, here in the room. I find that the new technology that is being introduced is fascinating, something I would love to incorporate. I would love to have the ability to flip my classroom. Also, I went to a workshop yesterday on capturing the screen of your iPad, which I thought was phenomenal. But I do know when I get back to school, I'll have this conversation with my dean, and the first thing that we'll say is, we don't have any money. And this has happened to me before several times. Does anyone in the room have any ideas, like the previous gentleman was saying, for possibly grants that are out there or other outside sources of funding that we can seek as faculty members in order to incorporate these new technologies now?
Does everybody want to go ahead? Go ahead.
I would just say that if you're looking at flipping your classroom, there's a tremendous amount of free information out there on how to do that. And just in terms of the actual implementation of it, because we're looking at a model that does not substitute any seat time, that you probably have a learning management system in place already that you can post pre-course materials on. And there's kind of this myth that in order to flip, you have to have really elaborate video technology, which I think is missing a little bit of the point of the flip. But I would say start with going out and seeing what's available online. Learn about the flip model, learn about bringing in these technologies, and see what you can do for free. I mean, there's so many great resources out there. I'm currently teaching a class on the flip model right now at Cal Poly, so and I can tell you that we put the whole thing together as far as the information from things that we found online, and then just really holding discussion groups and kind of sussing out the nuts and bolts of it. But just to present a flip class, the nice thing is I don't even think you really have to, because there's no substitution of seat time, because it doesn't constitute a substantive change to your course. You can actually kind of sneak it in, maybe pick one module that's not really doing very well in a class where students are not really grasping concepts, flip it, see if you have the success with that, and then talk to your peers, talk to your school about the success you had, and see if that might generate some interest in bringing in training or doing something else. But that's how I would go about it.
We did one other thing, is those of us who are online instructors are really interested in distance ed. We started getting ourselves on the advisory committees for STEM, for Title V, for basic skills, for all of the grants. And if you can get yourself positioned on the advisory committees, you can talk to those people about how important it is for the technology to be integrated into any of the stuff that's coming out of those grants. So I would say get yourselves in place, get on curriculum committee, get in the advisory committees, get in place where you can talk to people and have those conversations. And that really helps. We have a lot of funding for what we do out of those grants. And it's because we're there and we're talking to them about how they tie into all the coursework and how they relate to student success in all of those areas. Okay, great. So that's really another way you can do it.
I would really quickly, I would just echo what Pat said. There's money somewhere on campus. Somebody's got money to do something, and you need to find out who those people are and what they're interested in. Perhaps your foundation has money to support innovative faculty initiatives. Perhaps what you're doing crosses over into a career technical education area, and then there's Perkins money available to support that. Perhaps you have a Title V grant or a Title III grant on campus, or your campus is in the process of applying for a Title III or Title V grant. Get invited to those committee meetings, get invited to those planning sessions so that you can get your ideas included in that budget.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Or you could do what I did. I just took all my bills for DE training and just shoved them over to the vice president's desk, and he just paid for them. Anyway, my name is Rolando Regino. I'm at Victor Valley College, and we were fortunate to have a relationship with MSJC it's been about a year, right?
Yeah.
We started, because our academies have been going for some time, and we decided that the best way to do staff development is to already just go what's been established. So we started our academy last year by inviting out one, and the goal eventually is not just to reciprocate as far as having 2 academies going for our faculty, but eventually have more of our faculty involved. So this is a challenge, as most of you will probably know. We had a situation where there was really no staff development at all in DE for probably, I don't know, some of our folks here from Victor Valley, maybe 8 or 10 years or so, right? So we had to play catch up. So obviously, there are a lot of things, as was mentioned, online. You can go to, and actually I have if I could advertise a little bit, my session's on staff development, and I'll be talking more about that this afternoon. But we have local experts here, so my idea was to use that one, bring in their staff and do the training together. And now I think we have a good thing going. The faculty are getting more excited now about DE. They're realizing that they're not just off by themselves trying to figure everything out, but we put together some structure to the training, and like Pat just mentioned earlier, you need to keep it going. It needs to be a regular thing, not just for learning one tool or a new tool that comes along, but staff development has to be a regularity now, especially in these days with technology so advanced and the way we need to change our paradigm shift in the way we teach. So anyway, that's what we're doing over there, and we hope to continue it with that one and with MSJC.
Yeah, we're going to do a regional consortium, we hope. We've been talking about, we had Victor Valley at our last one in January and in August. I think we had 10 people there. And then we had 5 people from RCC as well. I don't know if they're here. But what we're thinking about doing because we're all in the same area and we're all Blackboard schools, so it would be pretty easy to really do that. And so we're thinking about doing a regional consortium where we do our academies at the 3 schools, and they can happen more often, and we can involve all our faculty. So hopefully that'll happen. We'll see. So, go ahead.
Jamie Nye, Dean of Business and Family Science at Cosumnes River College. I have a question about online lectures versus online labs. And since Barry's on the panel, I'll speak hypothetically. There may have been a college in the Sacramento region that's had a big debate about this, and it comes up in the CIS department and on peer review committees, actually, where we have classes that are split lab lecture, so 3 units lecture online, and then 1 unit lab. Some professors feel that lab must be on ground. Some feel it must be synchronous. Others think it may be asynchronous. And we haven't really come to a resolution about that. It's interesting when you look at online labs, sometimes they look like online lectures. In fact, one professor didn't even realize that his whole lecture was actually exactly like a lab of another professor. I mean, he did all projects in his lecture for the online. It was a web publishing class. So I'm just curious to know what others are doing in terms of online lectures and labs.
Anybody want to answer that? Do you have an answer for that? Do you have an answer for that?
I would just say name a discipline, and I've seen somebody teach it online. So, yeah. But I think really what we're asking is, are the students achieving the objectives for the class? Mm-hmm. And are they achieving the student learning outcomes? Are they achieving the learning objectives for the different modules? I think we're coming into a time where lecture and lab, they are becoming very kind of fuzzy lines. There's a lot of things, and again, I'm I'm sort of in the flipped world right now as well as the online world. But the flipped world is really moving from lecture-based into really hands-on lab-based. And, but I've seen, boy, I think, you know, this last time I taught Introduction to Online Teaching and Learning, I had an online dance class go through. I've seen so many different courses taught online that have a lab section to it or a very kinesthetic type of environment to it. And I'm just continually blown away at how effective they are if, you know, if they do the things that they say they're going to do. There's lab kits that you can send to the homes. If you have a chemistry class online, you can actually do, hopefully no one's ever blown up a kitchen, I don't know. But, you know, you can, there's ways that you can accommodate a whole bunch of different things, whether it's with technology, whether it's with things being sent to the home. So I guess I would almost want to clarify the question. Are you concerned that there's a quality issue going on? Is that what, I'm sure that's probably what part of the debate is.
Let me ask, if the lecture and the lab looked very similar and a college were audited, what would they be looking for, an auditor, for example, if they were trying to discern why is this paid at a lab rate, why is this paid at a lecture rate, if it looks very similar? So it may be a quality control issue.
Barry, do you have anything to say about that?
Well, I have lots of things coming to mind about that. One of the limiting factors for the lecture lab discussion, I'll just go back to that, is the transferability of the courses to CSU. That has always been kind of at the basis of that discussion for us. That's becoming less of a discussion at this point because we kind of called their bluff on the CSU because we go and look at their courses and they have plenty of online labs in their courses. And so we've been kind of looking at their hypocritical practices and and trying to call them on that. So they're becoming more flexible in the articulation of our lecture lab courses that may be totally online. But I also think that it is our responsibility to make sure that the faculty are assessing correctly that the students are meeting those goals and that it's not just the participation in the lab that is the grade, that it is actually, the students are actually achieving what you want out of the lab, because in a face-to-face lab, it's not just that they did the experiment, they went through the motion of doing the experiment or doing whatever it was, is that they actually wrote up the data, they analyzed the data, and they came out with some sort of objective at the end. If you're not assessing it all the way to the end, then I don't think you're fulfilling the lab portion of the course. So I think it's really a self-assessment that the faculty, and I use faculty singular and plural, have to do in that process to make sure that a lab is a lab. Now it also goes back to, I've been in this business for a long time, and I know a lot of you out there have been having these discussions as well. It's that eternal debate of what is lecture and what is lab. My position is learning is learning. And I wish we didn't have that separation, but we do. And so on your campus, I think you just have to have a really good discussion about how is that assessed and how do you determine that the students achieved the learning that needed to happen.
Thank you.
Could I add to that?
Yeah.
My name is Mary Johnson, and I'm from Mount San Antonio College, and we've been having that same discussion. I also happen to teach in computer information systems, and we've gone through the same issue. And what our curriculum committee has told us via Title V, I understand, is the difference between a lecture and a lab is that a lab has no homework. A lecture does have required homework. That's what we have been told on our campus. Now, perhaps I am incorrect in that, but that's what our curriculum committee has told us.
Okay, we won't even go there.
Okay.
We're being recorded, and we're not going to go there.
It strikes me that we've just declared non-credit classes to be lab.
Now you can ask your original question.
Yeah,
Go for
my
it.
question has nothing to do with lecture and lab then. At Mount San Antonio College, we also have had required training for faculty before they can teach distance learning. We've tried to be very complete in terms of the information we're giving them regarding regular and effective contact, accessibility, etc. But where I'm coming from now is I've given out the information. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that faculty are actually doing this in their courses. But we're a couple years away from accreditation visits. And my concern is, how are people showing the compliance portion? I'm trying to push for peer reviews as part of the peer reviews of a course, the peer checking accessibility, checking those kinds of regulations, but I don't know if anything else is going on, if I need to take that any further.
Can I start?
Mr.
I'm not
Accreditation.
going to directly answer that question, but I would say that one of the really fun and exciting things about our roles in DE is that we get to touch on every part of the college. But that's what's also, of course, one of the frustrating and challenging things is that, you know, we have to talk about what's happening in student services, what's happening in enrollment services, and so on. So I would suggest to you that, or all of us, it's helpful to educate other directors, deans, responsible parties on campus about their role in all of these processes, that student services is responsible for online student services, not only on-campus student services. You're not responsible for the entire online portion of the college, and so on, and if that makes sense.
There's something we did too. I think that makes a lot of sense, James. There's something we did before accreditation about, I think it was maybe 8 months or so before accreditation, is we sent out to our faculty a self-check, a self-review. And what we did was our vice president of instruction, you know, it's a real touchy issue. And so our vice president of instruction sent a letter out saying, we'd like you to review your own course. And we had a survey that was about regular effective contact. It was about, the survey asked them what percentage of their course materials they thought were accessible. We asked them about, you know, identifying their students, authentication, how were they factoring in integrity, how did they know their students were their students. We had a really nice survey, and we also had in the survey, and there are some folks here who took it, I'm sure, who could talk to you about it at some point, but we also had in the survey, at the bottom was, if you need help with any of these things, would you let us know? And if you don't turn in the survey, we may have to come and take a look at your class for compliance. And we had, we had an 80% return rate.
We saw that.
And what was really great, though, was they asked for help. And then that's why we have 3 DE coordinators, because they needed a lot of help, and not everybody's gotten the help they need. We're still trying to follow up with people and get them. It's so hard to do, and we're still trying to follow up. But when the accreditors came, they asked us what our process was. We had one.
Okay.
And we also had I had the surveys. I had printed them out. I had the process and everything, and I just handed it to them. And so they saw that we got it, that we knew this is what we were supposed to be doing, and we wanted to do it, and that our faculty were interested. And I really haven't found anybody ever on our faculty who said, I just don't want to do that, or, you know, they may ask why, but I think people are really interested in having their courses be accessible. I don't think we've ever really had people say, you know, I just hate it, I'm not going to do that. But they have asked for help, and you have to be ready, really ready to provide that kind of help. And without funding, it's tough. You know, it's really, really tough. We got our DSPS folks involved with creating that survey, and we had to back them down a little bit, say, whoa, guys, you know, we want it real simple. And we also connected it to links to a really nice website and pages where they could see how to fix things, and a very simple table that said, this is the item that is the compliance issue. This is what you have to do to correct it. Here's a link to go see how. And so we really gave them a lot of information about how to do that. We need to do it again. Maybe after I retire, they can do it again, but we need to do it again. But that was just one approach.
Actually, I recall that because we did get a copy of it, and we did something very similar at Mount San Antonio College, actually. I was a little afraid to add, or we're going to come to your doorstep and check on you part. So we did back off from that, but we did have a nice little table, very, very similar. We did plagiarize quite a bit of your survey. It was wonderful. And we had about 50 responses, which is not bad. I think we've got about a little over 200 distance learning professors. So we were not terribly displeased with the result. And some did ask for help. It appeared, though, if you read between the lines of the results, that there's still a long way to go. And that's kind of where I'm heading, is trying to figure out how to help faculty take the next step. But we're doing that, and I've also managed to get a few things into the contract where faculty are expected to teach to our AP, which we've managed to get a distance learning AP through, which does talk about the regulations, and I'm just hoping that's going to be enough for this time through with accreditation until next time when we'll have more in place, perhaps.
Thank you. And we're going to have to end. I want to thank all you guys. But before I do, I just want to attribute this kind of a session to Michelle Pacansky-Brock, who actually is now working outside the system. But one of the things that happened when we did this at MiraCosta, I don't know if you were there, was she stood at one of the mics and she talked about the wisdom wall. And how many of you know that or remember that? Anybody remember that? The wisdom wall is, she asked her students, it was what you saw when we started, it's that video that I started you with. She asked her students to please post what they would tell students the next time they took the class was offered. What advice would you give the next group of students? And then she took all of those and she put them in originally into a Word file or a PDF, and she posted that at the beginning of her next class. That this was the advice on how to be successful in the class from other students. And that came out of a session like this. That idea came out of that. So I have to kind of come back to it and share it with you and give Michelle the credit for that piece. And she now does that with VoiceThreads, which lends itself really well to that. But that's just one idea, and it comes from all of you working. So over the next year, think about your ideas as they come to you, so if we get a chance to do this again, that you'll be able to offer your cool ideas. And thank you guys. And we are going back over for lunch. So thank you all very much.